Hail, hail, and welcome to the 19th edition of the Temporary Stand podcast, at number 2 in our international term series. Tonight we were delighted to host a very good friend of the lads, Pascal Vide, all the way from Paris, France. Marty and Pascal sit down and have a wee chat about how this Frenchman with no Celtic links ended up cheering the hoops on in the Manchester United end before drinking Buckfast in Glasgow before all the matches. A great wee interview which we hope you all enjoy, so nothing left to do but see you on the other side.
Okay, welcome to the Temporary Stand podcast number 19, and I have a very, very special guest tonight. This is part of our international tour that we're embarking on this week, and tonight we head to France to speak to my very good friend, Pascal Vide. Pascal, how are you?
Very good, Martin, thank you. And how are you?
Great stuff. And Pascal, we're going to be just having a quick chat tonight about your life as a Celtic fan. Obviously, your life did not begin clad in green and white, but it will certainly end that way because everyone who knows you knows how fond you are of Celtic. So I suppose, first of all, we better start with you yourself. Give us a wee bit of background about your life, where you grew up, and which football team was dear to your heart as a boy.
So I was born near Paris, and I lived there until 3 years ago. So I support PSG, the most important team in Paris, and that's the way I met Celtic. I had many friends in Paris or near Paris, Irish friends, who supported Celtic, and we are talking about the good atmosphere by the fans, and we were very surprised when we received Celtic because we were expecting something like English supporters, very violent, very bad, like hooligans, and we were very surprised to have that good contact to the fans, the Celtic fans, and we were singing all the match in the Parc des Princes, and that was really beautiful for us, for French people, because we just can't do it. So maybe you have been there and you can see that we have nothing to compare with the Celtic supporters.
So French football.
That's why I started to follow Celtic in 1995, and after that I went to Paris in Irish pubs to see the match, the most important match, especially when Celtic played, I think it was Porto, in the UEFA Cup final in Sevilla, and that was a very good season for me to start to follow very often that club. And the first time I went to Celtic was 2006, when Celtic played Manchester United in the Champions League, as Nakamura shot a very good kickoff. After that, in the same Champions League season, I went to Milan. It was the same season. I went to Milan, to Lisbon, where I started to know and to appreciate the fans. The most important was Scott. He's a very good guy, very funny guy, Scott McCrory, and I wish he could speak tonight with me, but he's at the match, I think, tonight.
Otherwise engaged at Celtic Park.
After that, every time I come to Celtic, I met the guys from the from the Vogue bar. And okay, so that was the start of the story with Glasgow, with not only the football team, with Glasgow, the guys of Glasgow, and myself. I hope we can go on this way to see many matches together, to enjoy the football, the atmosphere with the guys.
Indeed, and I saw you at the games, so it's all Scott's fault. But not a bad baptism of fire coming to watch Nakamura score against Manchester United. But to go back to those days in 1985, I suppose for Celtic it was a time of rebirth. We had gone through a pretty sticky period in the years beforehand. But for Paris Saint-Germain, that was a real time of quality, and it was one of the best Paris Saint-Germain sides ever, isn't that right?
Exactly. That was the high points, the highest years, because we won it was called the Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup,
yeah. It was 1 year after that we won it, and we had the best team for PSG. I mean, we had really a very good team, like you told me about Djorkaeff, Patrice Loco, David Ginola. That was very good players, and that was at the moment I used to travel everywhere with PSG, and that was very, very brilliant.
You mentioned previously about the way the Celtic fans sang and brought atmosphere to a football ground. Is that not the experience in France? Are the supporters? I always had a vision of French football fans as being quite passionate and noisy. Is that not the case?
Maybe. So I'm sure that we couldn't have the same atmosphere like at Celtic Park, or maybe Liverpool in England, or some teams like that. But in France, there are a lot of young people, ultras like the Green Brigade in Glasgow, and okay, they are a bit noisy, but not as noisy like we can hear in Glasgow. That's not to compare. But if we have a good now we start again to have a good team in Paris because of the money. It's we were bought by Qatari.
Yeah.
And now we have both Ibrahimovic and some very good players for the next season. I'm sure we will have a full stadium, but not a good atmosphere, because 3 years ago we had a lot of problems in Paris, and so now all the best supporters are not going to the stadium anymore. And even we have a good team on the ground in the stadium, the atmosphere is not very good at the moment.
Talk me through that process that happened 3 years ago. What exactly went on? Was this to do with the club being bought over?
We had troubles in between two parts of the stadium. One part was basically nationalist, bit hooligan, and the other side was part of the Parisian supporters from all the poor quarters from Paris, and it's most people coming from Africa, you know.
Yes.
And immigrates, and that the troubles was between the two opposite sides, and one of those guys died 2 years ago by a game against Marseille. It was very hot atmosphere, and it was a big fight, and one of the guys died from that troubles. It was a start of the sanctions, yeah.
Sanctions, yeah.
Yeah, of from the club and from the authorities, football authorities, and now every ultras groups were banned from the stadium. And now if you want to go in one part of the stadium, you don't know, you buy a ticket, but you don't know, and you can't be sure that you can go with your friends and sit together in the stadium. That's that's why now it's very difficult to become a good support for the club.
It must be very difficult to build an atmosphere when you and your friends are either side of the ground.
Yeah,
that's
the most important is to sit near your friend or to stand near your friend to sing together. And if you have not this possibility, that's very difficult.
And for the hardcore, for the ultra, or maybe not even ultra Paris Saint-Germain fan, the whole process of being bought over by the Qataris, has it left a bad taste in the mouth, or are the fans delighted now that they have access to funding and money that they didn't have before? What's the feeling on the terrace?
Everyone is very most of the people is happy about the Qataris money, because we are going to be maybe like Manchester City, or if you have the money, you have the players. If you have the players, you have the trophies. That's very easy. It should be the same now in Paris. I don't go to the stadium anymore because I live 600 kilometers away from Paris. But okay, I'm very proud of the team when I watch TV now and see the team. Okay, that's very fine. But most of the French people except the Paris people, most of the French people say, okay, that's not a French team anymore because the owner is not French, and no French player, no good French player is playing for the team. So for sure, Parisian supporters are very happy because of the money and the players. But let's have some maybe some championship win, or I don't know. Maybe the French people will love Paris, but I'm not expecting that because Paris, everyone in France hates Paris. It's the capital.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I suppose that was going to be my next question. There is a nationalistic element to the Paris Saint-Germain support. How did they react, being bought over by a Middle Eastern consortium? Were they angry?
About what? Sorry.
About the fact that Paris Saint-Germain hadn't been bought, that was now that it was now in being controlled by Arabs. Did the nationalistic element of the support react violently, or?
No. I don't think it's a problem even for the nationalist people from PSG. They don't care about who owns the club. They don't mind. They are very stupid and think, okay, let's give us some money, buy some players, let us win the Champions League in 2 years, and they have no regrets if it's money from the Qataris or whatever, wherever it could be. That's
very, very interesting. To go back then, I suppose, to those times in the mid-90s when, the likes of Djorkaeff were playing for the team, and you were making the discovery, really, about Celtic. Tell me about the Irish community in Paris. How did you become part of that community? And, who introduced you to Celtic and brought you to the game?
Okay, that was, I think 1995 or 1994. So I lived 40 kilometers away from Paris in the north, in Chantilly, where it's very famous because of the horse races there.
Oh yes.
And we had there an Irish pub, and the barman was Irish from near where you come from Carnlough.
Yes, Carnlough and County Antrim. Yes, indeed.
Yep. And he becomes a friend of mine, and he told me about football, Celtic, and we had after that, because of this Irish pub, we had a lot of other Irish guys living in the area, who wanted to have a beer, and they came here in this bar, and that was my first contact with Irish people, I must say. And after that, in Paris, there are a lot of Irish bars because a lot of tourists, and as well because a lot of a lot of Irish and Scottish people living there in Paris. And the first time I went in Paris for a game on TV, that was in the name of the bar was the Islander, and it was a Scottish bar owned by a Scottish guy, I think, if I remember. And after that, he stopped to show the Celtic games because it was not only Celtic people coming to the match, and he didn't want to have troubles with Celtic and Rangers. And after that, the French supporters, French Celtic supporters, moved to another bar. It's called the Harp. It's like it's in the near the Moulin Rouge, very famous area from Paris. And every time I go there for a match, even I live now here, but when I go to Paris and Celtic is playing, I still go there in that bar for the match, and it's very busy for the matches. That's very, very interesting because it's Scottish people, French people, Irish people, and sometimes people who doesn't know when the people are watching for a game with green colors and come in and have a glass and have fun with the guys. That's very interesting.
Absolutely, it's a big mix of the Celtic family, it would sound like. Watching those games from afar, then, did you try and learn the songs? Did you try and fit in with the guys, the Celtic, the Irish and Scottish Celtic fans, or did you simply just observe? Did you just watch what was going on and enjoy the atmosphere?
No, just because I was very interested in the atmosphere. And because of the Irish music, I love the traditional Irish music as well, and I learned a lot of Celtic and rebel song. And when I come to Celtic Park or when I go away for a match, I can sing a few songs with the guys.
And I can attest to that. I can tell you that's absolutely true. The first night I met Pascal in Lisbon, he came tumbling out of a bar shouting Brits out. Which is a moment I will never forget. I had never heard Brits out being shouted in a French accent before.
2 weeks ago I was in Ireland for a wedding in Ennis. And after the wedding, the day after, a guy was here and was starting to sing some rebel song. And I started to sing with him. I can't remember what song it was because I was a bit drunk. But he stopped singing and so a French guy is singing rebel song with me. Yes.
Yes.
And so after that I told him because I follow Celtic, and he showed me his tattoo. Hey, I follow Celtic too.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. God bless the good people of the Banner County then if they give Pascal a good welcome in Clare. That's fantastic. So you enjoyed the atmosphere and you enjoyed the, I suppose, the ambience of the fans. When you went along to the Parc des Princes that night, when Celtic were playing, did anything else stick out? What did you think of the team? And were you in with the Celtic fans? Did your friends bring you into the Celtic section, or did you stay with your own friends in the PSG section of the stadium?
I didn't go to Celtic with PSG. I stayed for the home game in Paris. I stayed by the Paris section, but I couldn't, because of my job, I couldn't go to Celtic for the return game. But everyone in the Parc des Princes was very happy and very proud to have this atmosphere, because everywhere in the stadium you had Celtic supporters, and they could sing with no problem, no troubles, because Celtic fans are not looking for troubles. And we had the same atmosphere, exactly the same with Derry, when Derry City were playing Paris.
Ah, yes.
It was 2005, I think so. And first game was in Derry, and PSG fans were very welcome in Derry. And when they came to Paris, all the stadium had banners, welcome Derry, you are now enter free Paris.
That's right.
And that was very brilliant. And I must say every Celtic or Irish team are very welcome in Paris because of the good atmosphere, the good mentality.
Yeah, that's wonderful to know. So, coming away from that sort of mid-90s period, Celtic had re-established themselves, began to get access to the Champions League and that sort of thing. For you as a French fan then, did it become easier to follow Celtic from afar?
It's better for me, yes, because games are under the week, flights are cheaper, and it's very good. Last season I went to Sion because Sion is not far away from where I live. It was just 2 hours to drive. I went to Madrid. I flew to Madrid and to Rennes, and for me it's very good to that Celtic is playing international because it's not on the weekend and flights are very cheap under the week. Mm-hmm. So for me it's a very good thing. Okay, most good atmosphere is maybe at home, but I love to I absolutely love to fly to Madrid last September. I think it was September or October. It was very good. I love to fly away for the Celtic games because everywhere you meet another Celtic fan who is not Irish or not Scottish. Maybe there I met Swiss people supporting Celtic. I met Spanish people or French people, other French people. That's where I prefer to go because you have more the opportunity to speak with the people.
I first met you in Lisbon, I think in 2007. It was either 2007 or 2008. And I suppose we need to come clean to the listeners of this podcast, Pascal, because my friends from the Vogue CFC in Glasgow picked you up at the airport completely randomly. Yeah. Would you like to tell the listeners exactly what happened?
You mean for the return flight?
from the flight from Charles de Gaulle or from Beauvau Airport or wherever it was.
I arrived at the Charles de Gaulle Airport, and I think it was 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. It was very hard for me because the night after it was a bit late for me. And at the bar in the boarding area, I met some guys. Crazy guys, I must say, but very lovely. And we started to speak and to sing and to drink, not for sure to drink. And I think I was the only one who was sober at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Bloody hell.
And okay, that was the start of the big story between the Vogue supporters and myself, and it was very funny after the 2 days after that in Lisbon, except the fact that I missed my flight to go back to Paris because I don't know, maybe because of the alcohol, but I'm not sure.
No, everyone else is pretty sure, Pascal. It was definitely the alcohol and the buckfast supplied by Scott from this podcast that did the damage. But I remember meeting you in the square, in Rocio Square in Lisbon, and you were almost carried around like a mascot, by the guys. They were so they were so proud that they had
the French national anthem.
That's right. We kept making you sing the Marseillaise and that.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that the guys had come across, a fanatical Celtic fan who was from France, and they were so proud that they had bumped into you and had decided that, whether you liked it or not, you weren't leaving our company for the week. And what a serious few days it was. But to go back again, I suppose to jump back slightly, you spoke about your first experience at Celtic Park in Glasgow. Yep. Tell us a little bit about that. What was the build-up like for you personally, getting there for the first time? Because for some of us, I suppose it becomes pretty regular. We go, fairly regularly. The people who we're talking to in this series of podcasts are away from the shores, so don't get to go regularly. So talk us through the build-up. How were you feeling coming up to the ground, and what was your emotions actually getting there for the first time?
It was very special for me because since the first time I met the Celtic supporters, I really wanted to go to a Celtic match. And one day, a good friend of mine, an Irish guy, he's from Antrim as well, and lived in France, told me, okay, I have tickets for the match in Glasgow against Manchester. And if you get a flight ticket, we can go together. And that was brilliant for me. I asked my boss if I could have 3 days off, and we flew there. But the only problem, and it was not, it was a bad surprise for me. We had tickets for the Manchester supporters, and
oh my goodness.
Oh yes. And he told me that just before we arrived at the stadium. Okay, just put your scarf off, and we'll see if we can put it out after that. And no, it was impossible because it was very, very hot atmosphere. The United supporters were very aggressive against Celtic. And so we were 2 French people and 2 Irish guys living in France, but we were together in this area of the stadium. And so we went very high in the stadium and looked after the match, and it was very frustrating.
Frustrating, yeah.
Yeah. When the camera shot the game, the goal, and after that, Baruch stopped a penalty. As I heard this atmosphere in the stadium, I just wanted to start to be crazy, like everyone in the stadium, and I couldn't because it was dangerous for myself. So it was a very good experience because Celtic beat it, United, but I couldn't enjoy the goal and the win about Manchester United. So it was good and not very good. But every first experience must be special. So that was a special one.
The atmosphere that night must have been electric in the ground, though.
Yeah. Some guys who had a Celtic top or Celtic scarf were beaten by some United fans, and I thought between United and Celtic the atmosphere was not too bad, but I just felt it was that day, maybe just that day, that it was not very good.
They don't like it up them, as they say in Belfast, Pascal. They don't like being beaten. So yeah. You, I suppose, coming out of the ground, you know, the roller coaster of emotions. Did you and your friend head back to some of the Celtic bars in the area? You know, did you?
No. Unfortunately, no, because we went after that back to the hotel, and after that because we were driving. We had a car and we must to leave the car at the hotel, and after that every bar was closed, and the only place where we could have something to drink was the casino, casino.
Oh yes, the casino, yes.
Yeah, because they were open until 3 o'clock, I think, or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have a contact with the Celtic supporters in the bars. So, as I told you, every first experience must be special, and okay, I was very happy, very, very proud of the win, but I couldn't enjoy it as I expected.
Now, you've been back to Glasgow several times since.
Yes.
In fact, you're a pretty regular traveller now. Tell us your impressions of the city in terms of the Celtic aspect of it. What do you like most about it, you know, or also as opposed to what could be improved?
Every time when I come, I love to come to the Vogue, because that's where I know the most of the people, and I love Felter.
Falsha, yes, Falsha.
Yeah. I love this place as well. And every time Scott is taking me to another new place or to the at the Brazenhead, for sure, it's always a good place. Brazenhead. I love this place as well, and it's very special because sometimes you think you must hide your colors if you go through the city, and after when you are in one of those bars, you just have to sing to show your colors. But just when you come out from this bar, if you go into a taxi, hide your colors, and that's very special. I felt the same with Paris when we went away in France or in Europe. Sometimes it was a bit dangerous because of the Paris hooligans. We were very expected there from the police and from the other supporters, and I always had to hide my colors, and it was a bit pity. But in Glasgow, it's sometimes the same, I feel.
And Scott tells me you have developed quite a liking for Buckfast. Is this true?
My first experience with Buckfast was on a Old Firm Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning after 5 hours sleep. And if you have Buckfast for the breakfast, no. I wouldn't tell someone I don't know to drink it at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Now we know why Pascal misses planes.
No, I can drink it because I know what it is. It's not dangerous. It's not like petrol or. But okay, it was very surprising the first time.
I once heard it described as electric soup. Was the
yes.
And I thought that was a very, very apt description. And Scott, we were chatting about this earlier, and you know Scott sort of his whole life revolves around alcohol. So his summation of you was he drinks well for a Frenchman, but not bad for a Scotsman. So I think Scott regards you as being in training every time he takes you to Glasgow.
The next time I come to Glasgow. What was the question? Sorry.
No, I'm saying it's like you're still his mascot. He still has you in training. You know, every time you come to Glasgow.
When I feel not good, I come to Glasgow and he makes me feel good.
So, I suppose how often nowadays, Pascal, I suppose it's much easier to keep in contact with Celtic in terms of the internet and having feeds of games and things like that, but I think you're the type of fan who really does like to come and sample the atmosphere. So how often do you try and get to Glasgow in any particular season?
I don't know. It will be next season. I hope to come for international games. And okay, I must say I'm a bit disappointed that we will not have any Old Firm for the season for a few seasons. Because it was every time for me a good moment to come over, but that's something else, another discussion. But I will travel for Celtic in Europe for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's now about my business because I have my own pub here and I can't fly as often I want. But I hope to come for international games to Glasgow and away.
And I've no doubt that you will. Just on that, I suppose, just when you're touching on Rangers and what has happened over the last season, in terms of the football scene in France, has it made an impact at all? Do people know that Rangers have been liquidated, that they no longer exist, or is Scottish football just not on people's agendas in Paris and beyond?
Scottish football is known because of Celtic and Rangers. And what the French media told that was about the problem that Rangers is going to third division, and it's everyone here thinks it's a mess.
Yes, yeah.
Because the most important and the most interesting match in Scotland was the Old Firm. So I'm a bit happy because I love Rangers. I love to see Rangers dying, but I must confess, a season with no old firm will be a bit boring for me because we have here one French TV that shows Celtic football, Scottish football every Sunday, and they showed 1 week Celtic, 1 week Rangers. Now, I hope every Sunday will be shown, or Saturday maybe, they will show Celtic. But that's what I feel. That's good for good for Rangers that they have their sanctions because they deserve it. But I think for the SPL, it's a bit a pity.
Okay, fair enough. I thought that the fact that there was so many French players involved at Rangers, for example, Jan-Alain Boumsong, I thought that might have made more of an impact on the French scene simply for that reason. You know, the fact that the Boumsong transfer, I suppose, in some ways, brought this to a head. You know, the fact that the police started looking at it and, you know, different French players coming in and out. Has that made any impact at all in the French media?
No, I don't think so, because when I wanted to know about the Rangers story, I didn't watch into the French media, because they are just talking about that when something was decided. You know, it's not very regular that they talk about this problem. I don't think Rangers are most popular than Celtic in France. Even much like Paul Le Guen, for example, he was a manager there, but it was not the most important for the French media. They just talking about that when the decision was fallen.
That's really interesting, because even the likes of Yves Collot and the medical team that Le Guen had brought with him were actually flagged up as being part of this tax avoidance scheme. So, you know, there really is a link, you know, between the French people at the club and I suppose the whole area, the whole environment that brought Rangers down. So it's really, really interesting to think that the French media didn't pick up on that, you know, and I suppose.
No, they never talk about French players or French manager or French staff member from Glasgow. They just talk about, Glasgow is going to third division and finish because of that, and it's very short, very short.
I suppose
last season, for example, it was 2 seasons ago, they were talking about the most sports newspaper in France were talking about the atmosphere of the derby, but that's not very. They are not talking about the players or team managers there.
Yeah, they're just talking in general. Well, fair enough. I suppose our party is still going on. The fact that it's looking more and more likely that Rangers won't be playing next season. Celtic fans are revelling in it. But it's very interesting to get a foreign perspective like that, you know, to see, you know, it consumes all of us, but it's probably just not as important to people, you know, in other countries. So that's a very interesting perspective. To come back to Celtic then, Pascal, is there any, I'm just going to throw a curveball at you here. Are there any young French players or people in positions, you know, football players in France where you think we should be looking? And I'll sort of explain why, because I know that the football finance rules, I suppose, to take the Rangers angle a little bit further, that could really never happen in France, because the football finance rules are so strict, where clubs have to be solvent at the start of the season to receive their licence. So there's always a turnover of players, you know, and it always seemed to me that Rangers picked up the sort of cast-off players, where I always believed, actually, if you scouted French football properly, there was probably a lot of bargains of really good players to be had. So are there anyone who stands out at the minute that maybe haven't impacted on Celtic's radar that they should be looking at?
I must confess, the last season I didn't watch very often the French football because of my job, because of the pub. But most of the young players or good players in France are going to England because of, for sure, for the money. But like a good player like Eden Hazard, who signs, he's not French now, he's Belgium.
That's right.
But he signs for Chelsea. Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I am not able to tell you about the young players in France because really I didn't watch the French game last season. A few games for Paris for sure when it was interesting, but still TV on in the pub. But I have to work, so I just look the results at the end. So
well, your mission this season is to keep an eye for us and keep the temporary stand updated as to who Neil Lennon should be focusing on. But you've mentioned your pub, so I suppose it's a nice time to talk about that. I'm told that it's a Celtic pub.
Yes.
Even though there's not many Celtic fans around, tell us where the pub is and give us a wee bit about the details of the place.
Okay, the pub is called Au Vieux Irish Pub. Vieux en Sala is the name of the town. It's a small town. It's about 5,000 people living here. It's a small town, but it's very very funny. We have very a lot of young people coming from everywhere, and in the pub I could send you some pictures. There is a lot of Celtic flags or scarves, and now a few people are interested in matches. When I say okay, on Sunday I watch a game at 12, even if I just open at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When I watch a game, some people say to me, okay, I would like to see the match with you. And if I go to Geneva, because Geneva is very near from here, there are a lot of Irish and Scottish people there living. So 2 or 3 Celtic bars there. And few guys tells me they want to come with me for the atmosphere, for a good beer, by a good game. I believe I can bring it on a good Celtic atmosphere. But the plan is now for me, maybe in the next month to have a second bar. And it should be in Chamonix, which is very famous. And there are a lot of English tourists there, so I believe I can make a second Celtic bar in the area.
So please, people, if you're in the area, come and support Pascal. He is doing his very best to spread the Celtic message far and wide, much further and wider than I do. But I suppose it is a small part of France where the pub is based, and it's an Irish bar as well as primarily a Celtic bar. But did the locals find this kind of strange that this Parisien was, had taken on this Glasgow side as a symbol?
No, because a lot of people here were very happy that it was an Irish bar. First of all, when you see the Guinness sign outside, it was for some people something like if they have seen Jesus or whoa, Guinness here. Guinness is coming to me.
That's unreal.
And after that, many people are looking for the flags, for the pictures about. I have some pictures about Northern Ireland, from Derry that I made myself. From the walls paint, and they ask me, they are very interested in the story of what makes me what the connection with Ireland and myself was a connection with Celtic, and no, they were not shocked about that.
That's wonderful. It's really gratifying to hear, to hear that. because I'm pretty sure if a Rangers bar had started up in the town and there were Union Jacks and English flags outside,
Exactly.
I'm sure
Exactly.
things would have been
Union
much.
Jack were not very welcome, or I'm sure it would not be a problem, but Irish bar is very is known for friendly welcome, so that's not the same. But I'm sure if in France like here in this country area, it's very most people are not working in office, it's hand workers, and a Union Jack would not be very welcome here.
Yeah.
English people are not very welcome.
That's unreal. So I'm going to wrap it up now, Pascal, and the only thing left really is to say merci beaucoup for coming on and speaking to the Temporary Stand. You've been a treasure and a joy. And can I just put an appeal out to the listeners of the Temporary Stand podcast? If you see Pascal attached to Scott in a bar in Glasgow, please don't buy him any more Buckfast, because he can't afford to miss any more flights home. Is that a fair opinion, Pascal?
Yeah, thank you very much, Marty.
Now, you know what's going to happen. You will be spotted in the Brazen Head, and the opposite will happen. Everyone will buy you Buckfast. But I'm sure you don't mind. Pascal, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and it's been a total pleasure. And I hope myself to see you at some point over the coming season, and fingers crossed I'll get to your bar and have a few pints on the house.
I hope that Celtic will play not far away from you, maybe in Lyon, or it would be a good reason for you to come over and to visit my pub.
Absolutely, I consider that an invite. Pascal, good night and God bless, and thanks for joining us on the Temporary Stand.
Okay. Have a good night. Hail.
Well, how's that? Maybe I get too many mentions tonight, but I can't let Marty get too much of the limelight. I think the interview there shows how much the Celtic family is revered inside and outside of the Celtic family itself. As always, thanks for taking the time to download this effort and any others you have. Any feedback is warmly appreciated on Twitter. It's at Temporary Stand, on the usual message boards, and of course emails to temporarystand@hailhailmedia.com. I think the third and final part of this trilogy may be next week, but still try to sort a few wee details out, so barring any disasters we should have a few of the usual guys back on Sunday night. Nothing left now but night. God bless.